Alright guys, in this video we will learn yet another concept of Angular animations, namely automatic property calculation. Now when you want to animate certain properties like height or width of an element, it gets a bit tricky because elements tend to have height and width that depend on their content and also the screen size. So to solve this problem, Angular provides a special property value that is denoted by the star symbol. And when you specify this star value, then the value of that particular property gets computed at runtime, and the value is also then plugged into the animation. So let's have a look at an example. Now for this example, I have created a new class HeightBox. It has a width, but it does not have any particular height. So now in our template, let's create another div element that we're going to animate. So div, and let's add a class. Class is equal to HeightBox. And over here, I'm going to specify 5 break tags so that we have some sort of height to this div element. So break, and I'm just going to copy this. Let me see here. Pretty lazy. So, all right, let's go with 6 break tags. Now we have the element that to be animated, so let's add a trigger over here. Let's call this height trigger. So height trigger, and then we are going to assign a state for binding. So height state. Now let's go ahead and define that animation. Now I'm going to copy paste this particular animation because there are a lot of parentheses and curly braces involved, and I don't want to mess up on the syntax of it. So I'm going to copy height trigger, come back here, paste it, and then instead of off and on, we're going to toggle between no height and full height. So these are the 2 states for this particular animation. Now instead of background color, we're going to specify the height property. When there is no height, the height is 0. When the state is full height, we are going to ask Angular to dynamically calculate the value. So for that, we specify star. Now instead of double transition, I'm going to merge it into a single line. So instead of off, so no height, and then a double-sided arrow, and then full height. And we are going to remove these excessive styles and transitions from, or additional styles from this transition. So we are just going to animate for a duration of 2 seconds. So no height to full height. So now let's go ahead and add a button to toggle between the 2 states. So I'm going to copy paste this line. So instead of toggle lights, I'm going to say toggle height. And instead of toggle lights again, I'm going to say toggle height. And over here in our class, just like room state, I'm going to have another property, height state, string, and then initially we want this to appear on the screen, so full height. And then we are also going to toggle lights and copy paste this because toggle heights is something similar. So toggle height. And then instead of room state, we're going to have height state. Height state, height state. Instead of off, we're going to have no height. Instead of on, full height. And instead of off again, no height. Alright, so let's go ahead and test our animation. So we have our 2 div elements. The first one is for toggle lights. The second one, the smaller div element that you see, is for toggle height. Now initially it's in the full height state. So if I click on this toggle button, it is going to make a transition to no height. Where is that? Okay, here. So height is going to become 0. So let's click this. So the height becomes 0. Now if I click on the toggle button again, it's going to achieve the state of full height where the height gets dynamically computed. So I'm going to click on this. There you go. It takes up the height of those 6 break tags. So we haven't specified the height explicitly. Angular is going to compute that dynamically. Now another point that I want to highlight here is that a single HTML element can have multiple triggers. For example, I can copy this lights on off trigger and I can add it to this just created div element. So now both these buttons are going to animate the second div element. So I'm going to click on toggle lights. There's a delay of 3 seconds, 2, 3, and then both of them are going to rotate. So it is possible to have as many triggers as you want on a particular element and different buttons that trigger different animations on that particular HTML element. All right, so that is what I wanted to show you about automatic property calculation. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.